the way.
I am Jesse Carpenter, initiated into Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated November the 23rd, 1957. Beta Chi Chapter, Lane College, Jackson, Tennessee. Serving as chapter president, 1959 through 1960. In 1961, I joined the Alpha Alpha chapter, Kansas City, Missouri. In 1969, it became another chapter, and I am a charter member of the Kansas City, Missouri alumni chapter of Delta Sigma Theta. In 1981 through 1982, I was elected president of the Kansas City, Missouri alumni chapter of Delta Sigma Theta. As president, leading with dignity and outstanding leadership skills, we were successful in getting to know each other, each member, delegating responsibilities, stressing each member's strengths and weaknesses, following up, resulting in planning and implementing a successful Jabberwock. Jabberwock is a famous children's classic, Alice Adventure in Wonderland. The Jabberwock is a traditional Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated scholarship fundraiser. Leadership is so important, and at this time, even more important. On this particular date, even more important. Future Delta leaders should continue to learn and know Delta. Delta was founded on Christian principles. Study the foundation and the history. Appoint and elect competent sorors, not only your friends. Think of your leadership team as the new generation leaders, preparing with love to serve others as we plan for the future of our beloved sisterhood. This was a very difficult question because there have been so many with the various appointments that I've had or served with, I think, 6 national presidents. But as I think about it, I think serving as a member of the Scholarship and Standards Committee was the most one that I can recall that I will remember as long as I am a Delta, and I will be a Delta all of my life. My recall of the chartering of the Kansas City, Missouri alumni chapter was mixed, very mixed. As Alpha chapter members, which was composed of Deltas in Kansas City, Missouri, and in Kansas City, Kansas, we were a close-knit group, very strong in friendship and sisterhood. Therefore, we were concerned, to say the least, about the breakup. We fought and fought hard the division. To a certain extent, we took it very personal. But in 1969, we signed the petition, becoming the Kansas City, Missouri chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. In Nehemiah 2:18, it mentions building. So we rose up and built 2 viable chapters and strengthened the sisterhood for the good of the greater Kansas City communities and Delta Sigma Theta sorority. We are better together, united. As regional director, it was, I think, the involvement with the collegiate sorors that was the most rewarding for me. And now to see them become Deltas and become leaders in Delta is something I will never forget. I cherished chartering of 2 chapters within the Central region, and that was the chartering of Omicron Pi Chapter Southeast, I think, Missouri State University, Cape Girardeau, Missouri, and the Moline Davenport Alumni Chapter, Davenport, Iowa, and having the lasting living founder of Delta to be our Central Regional Speaker in Des Moines, Iowa. Regional Director was great. It takes its toll, but the many sorors that you meet that are so special is that which makes it important to serve as Central Regional Director.
One take.
It has been an honor to have worked in Delta all of my adult life. As president of 2 chapters, elected twice to the National Nominating Committee, elected Central Regional Director, elected to the Scholarship and Standards Committee, and appointed to the National Housing and Properties Committee as its chair. It was in this position I had the opportunity to develop, share my leadership skills, and dedicate my life to Delta. As we prepared and implemented the Delta Habitat for Humanity program in 1993 through 6, we planned and built 7 houses in the United States, 1 in each of our 7 regions in Delta, and 15 in the greater St. Louis and the East St. Louis communities, totaling 22 Delta houses in the United States, representing our 22 founders. We have 1 here in Kansas City, which was dedicated at our Central Regional Conference, and it is located at 3413 Highland, Kansas City, Missouri. And as a part of the ongoing partnership and with Habitat for Humanity, the committee and 35 Deltas, spouses and friends joined it to West Ghana, Africa, for the Delta Habitat International Build, in which we built 35 Delta houses and now over 200 Delta Habitat houses in the United States. It was during my tenure as chair in this historical journey that I had the opportunity to meet 8 to 9-year-old Julius at a Delta Habitat build in Berkeley, California. He was one of 3 children of the family who was to be the owner of the Delta Habitat house. As Julius and I talked, I said, I know you are happy to have a new home, a new house. He replied with tears in his eyes, yes, but I am so happy to have my own bed and my own room by myself. This memory I will cherish the rest of my life as we preserve to meet the challenges that face us. Let us strengthen our bond of sisterhood and public service for builders and doers.
They'll tell the way, yeah.
My name is Phyllis E. Brown Ragsdale. I pledged at Side Chapter, University of Kansas, in Lawrence, Kansas. Before I joined the Kansas City, Missouri Alumni Chapter, I was in the Kansas City, Kansas Alumni Chapter right after graduating from KU. So approximately I joined the Kansas City, Missouri Alumni Chapter in 1980-81. I served as president of the Kansas City, Missouri Alumni Chapter from 1982 to 1985. Our chapter served as a pilot chapter for the new membership intake process, and we plan for the cotillion that is presently our legacy now, and the Women of Courage Awards. We follow the 9-point program of our sorority. I would say the planning for the cotillion and doing the new initiative membership intake process. I was recommend to the incoming SARS that are seeking aspiration for administration is to follow your documents of the National Sorority, of the regional and the chapter bylaws and constitution, and be a sister to all. The sisterhood and the service, doing service community projects, have formed and bonded relationships with sisters that have lasted a lifetime.
They'll tell the way, yeah.
I am Dr. Sharon Bird. I was initiated as a member of Delta Sigma Theta in 1977 in the spring. It was through the Lambda Epsilon chapter, which was a citywide chapter, and the focus was on UMKC. I became a member of the Kansas City, Missouri Alumni chapter in 1979. I served as the president of the chapter from 1995 to 1999. My tenure was quite busy, if I have to say so myself. One of the contributions as the president of the chapter was beginning the journey for us to purchase our Delta house. We secured the 501c3 tax-exempt status, and in 1998 began a partnership with the Foundation for Delta Education and Economic Development. And today we now own our house. Another thing I implemented was Delta Academy in our chapter. It was an initiative to prepare young girls ages 11 to 14 for full participation as leaders in the 21st century by enhancing the education that they received by going to school. And a lot of focus was given to science, technology, math, and social studies. I also revitalized the Bernie Stand Step Show. I did that mainly to fulfill my stepping needs and to kind of bring a well-loved event back to our community. And on a side note, I still step every year that I can with the STEP team. Leadership in Delta Sigma Theta sorority should be embraced as contributing to the business of our sisterhood. I would like to share a piece of advice for those seeking leadership positions. Be sure that you have the time and the energy to undertake the position you want to hold. Any leadership position is challenging, but DST has that extra caveat of sisterhood, which can impact some of the decisions that we make. Just remember, you are upholding the values and virtues of our sisterhood that are clearly laid out in our Constitution and bylaws and other documents. And last but not least, be sure to take some time for self-care so you can refuel while in the position and continue on as strong as you started. My most cherished moment being a member of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated was the international build we did with Habitat in Ghana, West Africa in 1996. I was honored and blessed to be a part of the group that went to Ghana. We actually assisted with building villages or houses in the villages. Words cannot describe how this experience was humbling and heartwarming at the same time. To actually walk on the grounds and the sands where my forefathers once lived and interact with the people that were there is forever etched in my heart and in my mind.
Delta all the way.
My name is Tasha Brooks, and I was initiated November 22nd, 1986, on the campus of University of Kansas. I transitioned to the Kansas City, Missouri Alumni Chapter immediately following graduation, so that is 1989. I became president of the chapter in 1999 through 2003. I had the pleasure of being embraced by Sora Pat Jones, who took me under her wings immediately, put me on committees. I co-chaired with her. She was a great friend of my late dad, and so that was a blessing, and that just set me up for success. As chapter president, I primarily focused on operational efficiency. So I just tried to build up on what Dr. Bird had already established, so tried to streamline committees. And by doing that, I attended, predominantly all the committee meetings just to try to see where do we have synergies, where can we merge, where can we not, and what makes sense. Expanded upon her forms for reports. So we tried to, enhance the reports. They provided better information to our sorority members. And one of the key programs that we did under my administration was the youth retreat. It's not something we have today, but it was an awesome program. I believe the ages were like 11 through 15, all-day event, development workshops, food, activities. So it was a great program for the community. First, I would applaud them because you're lending us your talent. If you're a Delta, you're already smart, witty, you're a go-getter, so I would just thank you. And then I would say, be vulnerable, be yourself, keep your self-respect, and don't get discouraged if your first leadership position is not for you and you don't get it. You just reassess, make sure that's still the position you're passionate about, and then just try it again. We can't be afraid of failure. We have to just be courageous enough to try it, and if we fail, just try again. And remember that, it's not our time, it's God's time, and sometimes they don't sync up. So it's okay, but thank you. My most cherished or memorable moment of being a Delta, there's so many, but I have to start with membership intake. Because membership intake, if I didn't become a member of Delta, I wouldn't have been exposed to so many amazing experiences on the state level, the regional level, and the national level. I was able to be a state coordinator where I was able to plan regional leadership meetings, Delta Days at the state capitol, regional luncheon where I did the program, the design, so that was a great experience. And then from there, on a regional level, doing membership intake training, DID presenter, chair of the elections committee. There were so many opportunities there as well. And then on a national level, being elected member of the National Scholarship and Standards Committee was one of the most amazing opportunities. You work with the national president, national first vice president, the second vice president. It was just amazing. And through that, I was able to get on the National Hazing Prevention Task Force, where we implemented components to the DID for no hazing and components to our rush for no hazing. And also had the opportunity to be a member of the Membership Intake Special Operations Advisory Committee. And with that committee, we worked on membership intake, we held town halls, we did webinars to try to make the membership process better. And with that, we also came up with the chapter's transgender policies. That was part of that committee as well. So those experiences, if I never became a member, I wouldn't have the opportunity to just have experienced all of that wonderful stuff.
They'll tell the way.
My name is Claudette Scott Rogers. I was initiated in fall of 1958 at Lake University, Jefferson City, Missouri, Alpha Theta Chapter. That time, my name was Claudette McWilliams. You know, I'm not actually accurate about when I became member. I moved here in 1974, and I had little children, so I probably didn't become active into this chapter until late 1980s, early 90s maybe. But I remember in '88 I was a member because my daughter wanted to participate in the AK's debutante ball, and I was a Delta, and I thought that was not the right thing to do. So that's my take on how long I've been here, since the 90s, early 90s. You know, biggest is hard to explain, but I became president because at the time, they were having a difficult time getting an officer, a slate of officers, and so someone asked me to run, and I thought, this is not the time for me. But I did, and I served from 2003 to 2005. And during that time, my focus was on increasing membership and increasing better communications and connectivity. And so we had a monthly newsletter, so I decided that added to the monthly newsletter that I'd make periodic calls to people who weren't attending and ask if they were getting the newsletter, and then ask, is there some way that I can encourage you to come to the meetings? So that was the first thing that I wanted to do, to increase membership. And for the first time during my tenure, Delta's membership increased over 100. That seems funny now, looking at our membership now. But that was one thing that I accomplished. Another thing was the Deed Foundation. During my tenure, Sherry Lumpkins, who was the first vice president, created the 501(c) nonprofit. And out of that grew the Deed Foundation. And during my tenure, we created the first fundraiser, created the first pledging and raised money for the Delta House. So I claim that we started the fundraiser for the Delta House. And then the other thing I thought was, we had several new youth initiatives during my tenure. The one was called C0652, and that was encouraging the kindergarten to 8th graders and their parents to be interested in science and math. And then we had the middle school was Delta Academy, and then we had the high school for Delta Gems, and they were very new, so I nurtured those 3 youth initiatives during my tenure. So that was things I just feel good about, and they are still being nurtured now? I would say to be sure you're qualified, and for the office you're seeking, avail yourself to any training that's available. Find a mentor who has done that office well, and then don't listen to the naysayers. Follow your heart and the love you have for Delta. I have some cherished memories, and I was thinking that I met one of the founders, Bertha Pitts Campbell, and that was a memorial moment for me. And then having Frank and Muse Freeman to invite me to have dinner with her when she came to Kansas City, and then there was just so many things I just love about. But I think because of induction of new members into Delta Sigma Theta is the sorority's most sacred trust. I believe serving as membership chairperson would be my most cherished. The fact that I encourage people to become members, and also I encourage them to stay members. And during that time, I served as Minerva's Circle leader, and I was able to help induct a group of sorors, 21, they called themselves 21 in Legal, in 2001. And I poured into those young ladies just a desire to become Deltas and to remain Deltas and to remain active, and many of them are still active. So I would consider that my time as membership chairperson to be the most cherished and engaging part of my Delta journey.
Delta all the way.
I am Sandita Moss.
Yeah.
I was initiated at the University of Missouri Columbia, Epsilon Psi, spring 1992. I joined the Kansas City, Missouri Alumni Chapter in the fall of 1992 and served as president from 2009 to 2013. During my tenure, my goal during that time was really about quality versus quantity. I could see that sorors were starting to get fatigued, and so I really tried to consolidate the number of committees that we had and really focused on the quality of those programs. And with that, we were able to win numerous regional and national awards. We won the National Best Delta GEMS program. We placed as Top Delta Academy and Top Embodied program, which also received a $1,000 grant, the first grant for programming from our PP&D program. So one of our new initiatives, part of that quality effort, was around arts and letters. And so we focused on returning to our roots in co-sponsoring our signature gala with the Kansas City Friends of Alvin Ailey. The Alvin Ailey dance troupe was featuring their home dance. They were debuting that in Kansas City, and we co-sponsored that gala, which helped raise over $450,000 for the organization, as it was originally founded by several sorors. In addition, we co-sponsored the debut of a play featuring soror Barbara Jordan called A Rendezvous with Destiny, which featured actress soror Sandra McLean. And it was held at the Gym Theater here in Kansas City. During my administration, we've actually celebrated our 100th years in Delta Sigma Theta. So 2013 was was our centennial celebration in Delta. And so with that, we featured an exhibit, a Delta history exhibit at the Bruce R. Watkins Cultural Heritage Center. We held an exhibit there over 2 months through March and April of 2013, and where we showcased the history of both the Kansas City, Missouri Alumni Chapter, the Kansas City, Kansas Alumni Chapter, as well as our local collegiate chapter here, Lambda Epsilon. And so we had sorors pulled through the archives that originated with our first alumni chapter that was here in Kansas City in 1925, the Alpha Alpha Alumni Chapter, And we debuted that history. We had a lot of our dignitaries here in Kansas City to experience that exhibit, and we kicked that off and really celebrated the history of Delta Sigma Theta that year, and which really led to the community celebrating Delta, not just our own soars as well. So that was a really exciting time for us during that year, which really led to, I think you asked me the question about, so what was my personal experience in Delta that I really enjoyed, correct?
Yes.
And I would say a part of that really was that centennial year. I was able to go to Washington, D.C. in January during that centennial celebration and celebrate on the campus of Howard University when the clock struck midnight on January 13th and be with all of, thousands of Deltas and celebrate our founding, celebrate our Founders Day celebration there. We reenacted the suffrage march, our first community service act as an organization. And it was just a really exciting time in 2013 as we celebrated our 100-year anniversary, and I was really honored to be a part of that. For any Delta seeking leadership, I would recommend them to really know and be knowledgeable of Delta policies. I'd recommend them to be decisive, be consistent, be sisterly, and really remember to focus on our mission, which is the constructive development of our members and the focus on public service geared toward the Black community.
Do you have any other cherishable moments on your journey of becoming a Delta that you'd like to share?
I would say one of the best parts of being a Delta is really the sisterhood. I would say I've been mentored by fabulous sorors. Some of them that are no longer with us, such as Georgia Gibson Love, Mary Kaysen, some that are still with us, like Jesse Carpenter. Having that mentorship of sorors, them telling you stories about what it was like back in the day, really helps shape who I am as a Delta. And I really would like to leave that for, be that person for other Deltas as well.
Delta all the way, yeah.